Hello, everyone. Today, I'm going to try using some Python agents frameworks with MCP servers. So an MCP server exposes a bunch of tools that can then be used by an AI agent. So many of the agent frameworks have ways to connect to MCP servers, and I want to see how to do it across a bunch of different frameworks. So let's start with the Pydantic AI framework here. This is one I've used for a few projects. It's from the Pydantic team. They create, the Pydantic base model that many people know from Fast API or just from, other Python use cases. And they also create Pydantic AI. They make Logfire for instrumentation. And they have this Pydantic AI framework that has lots of support for different things. So here's the MCP documents. And it talks here about, the 3 ways that you could support MCP from an agent framework. And this is generally true for any agent framework. So I think it's a nice intro. So you could have an agent that is acting as an MCP client, which is connecting to MCP servers user tools. That's the one that I want to focus on today. You could use an agent within an MCP server, and that makes sense. And lots of MCP servers will expose functionality that could use LLMs. And then also Pydantic has their own MCP servers that you can see. So this is the one I'm interested in here, is basically having the agent act as a client. So we need Pydantic AI. I've already got that. So I'm working out of this repo here that already has basic Pydantic working here. So you can see we have imports from Pydantic AI, and I can use it either with GitHub models for free, which is great, or I can use it with Azure OpenAI. I think in this case, I've got it hooked up to an Azure OpenAI. Yeah, but I could switch that to GitHub models if I wanted to use it for free. So here it creates the agent, passes in the model, a system prompt, and it's just getting back a string. So that is the simplest Pydantic AI integration, and I want to try using it with MCP servers. So we've got a few different ways that you can connect. It says 2 ways. It's actually 3 ways now, and that's because this one just got added. So MCP server streamable HTTP. Basically, when you have an MCP server, it can either be over HTTP, as in like you've got it running on a deployed server or on a local host server, or it could be under over standard input output, which basically is like it's as if you're running a command line, a CLI command. And that is like if you're running like something that's like an npx package or a UV Python package, then you would use the standard input output. So ideally, I want to try using both of them. Now, between Streamable HP and SSE, basically Streamable HP is the new recommendation for what to do, what to use when you're over HTTP. But since it is new, not everybody supports it yet. So many servers are still in the original SSE. But generally, we would prefer to use the Streamable HTTP. Okay, so let's check out the examples here. All right, so we can create a really, really basic server. That adds 2 numbers, okay? All right, I mean, let's try it. MCP server basic.py. Okay, so here's our basic server. We're using the fast MCP package here and create a fast MCP server. We mark the tool, very exciting tool that takes in 2 numbers, and then we can run that server. And this is over streamable HTTP. So let's try that out. Okay, and then we have the client. So the client assumes that the server is running. So we need to, actually run this server. It doesn't give the command here, but we could do, Python -m, actually just Python examples, MCP server basic. And that's running on localhost 8000. If we open it, we just get a 404. So that makes sense because it's only going to respond at the MCP URLs for this tool. Okay, so that is running now. Now we're going to create the client. So let me go ahead and make a new file for this example. So this would be Pydantic AI Basic. We'll call this Pydantic AI MCP HTTP.py. All right. So that is here. All right. And we're going to go back to the docs and see how we set this up. Okay. We're going to add some imports here. So import that server. Looks like we may need to update our Pydantic AI. So we'll check to see what version we have of Pydantic. And then we're going to set up the server. And the server is posting at localhost 8000/MCP. That should be correct because it's running at 8000. And then when we make the agent, we're going to give it tool sets. And the tool set will include that server. And it also says no parameter name tool set. So I definitely think we need to upgrade our Pydantic AI. So let's go ahead and see what version we're currently at here. Okay, so Pydantic AI is at 0.053. Okay, what is the latest version? Wait, it was 0.0.53 before, and now it's 0.4.8. Oh, that seems like it seems a lot different. Let's go ahead and check this here too on PyPy. Pydantic AI, release history. Okay, so wow, I'm really behind, huh? So they jumped from 0.53, that's where I was, to 0.1, and then yanked to change. Okay, and then they're all the way up to 0.4.8. They are releasing fast and furious. All right, so 0.4.8. So we need to upgrade. So let's just go ahead and make that a kind of requirement and say 0.4.8. Oh, and you can also see I've got my extension here. Extension. Yeah. My PyPy extension that tells me the most recent version, so I don't have to go to PyPy. All right. So I'm going to say install it again and see what it wants to, if it should do the upgrade now. It looks like it's doing some uninstalls. Okay, that's an uninstall of an old Pydantic graph version. That's good. It looks like there are some dependencies that it's uninstalling. So successfully installed Pydantic AI 0.4.8 plus a bunch of dependencies. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to close this and reopen it because that sometimes fixes whether it knows about something. Okay, so there we can see the MCP server. All right. And this one is crossed out. It says the constructor for class agent is deprecated. Use output type instead. Oh, okay. Output type. All right, I'll change this to output type. That fixes that. Oh, it's so, I love the squiggles that tell you that. Okay, and this is only getting squiggled because it said models unbound. So I could just say like model. Here, I'll just do that. And now everything is happy. All right. Oh, and then this one is also deprecated. The getter for property deprecated. Okay, use result.output instead. All right. All right. So then when we run this, we're going to say, oh, it's gonna do a little calculation here. How many days are between two dates? Okay. Let's try that. And see if it uses the tool. I wonder if it'll tell us if it uses, if we'll get some output. We'll run this. Okay, so it's running. And is it going to give any example? Oh, I think that it's okay. So their explanation here is incorrect because it's saying like, oh, it's got a run Python code tool, but it doesn't have that tool, right? So this documentation needs to update. I'll send them a message. Because yeah, I don't think it's really going to be able to answer that question that easily without a run Python code tool. Is there a run Python code tool somewhere else in the docs? No. Okay. All right. So that's just out of date. Oh, I forgot my system prompt says you're a Spanish tutor, only respond in Spanish. So we got the answer in Spanish, which is great. Wasn't exactly what I was intending, but you know, it's fun. So I think, I don't know in this case that they actually called the thing. So like, okay, you are an agent with access to some tools. All right, and just say like add, and together. Okay. Right. So let's make it real easy for it. And in this case, since it has a tool, okay, so we got an answer. And then do we have any evidence that, okay, processing request type list tools requests, post. I'm trying to see if there's any evidence of it calling the tool. There are like various posts here. The other thing we can do is, you know, add on, change our logging level, right? So let's do logging, import logging, and I'm going to say logging.basic config. I'm going to change this to debug, like just see as much as possible. And now I'm in debug, so we can see more what's going on. So we got back the response. And did we get, so we can see it made a request to OpenAI, but did we get one earlier? Okay, so here we go. What you can see is that it told the model that, hey, you've got this tool you can call that has these arguments. And so then I think it called that tool. It's just hard to see that here. So I think a really good question is, how do you know, how do you know that it's actually called your tool? Oh, we can see here that it's sending, essentially it sends a delete to that endpoint. I actually don't know why it sends a delete to the endpoint. But here we can see that, okay, it got the schema. Okay, so it did get the schema from there. So I think it worked. Let's try and make this like super obvious. Like, what's something that definitely couldn't do? I could also check and make sure that the response is correct, right? So let's just go into Python. We need to get rid of these silly commas though. That's just for humans. Plus this. It's like that. So here we go. Let's see if this is correct. 3667 857 501 386. Okay, so it did it correct. So I think it did. I think it did call the MCP tool. It's not a very exciting tool, so we might want to do something more exciting. What would, you know, be subtract? It's not really more exciting. Let's see. I have another MCP server that does like fake travel planning, so I could go and grab that server from here. So it's under tools, itinerary planning, source, MCP server. Okay. So we have, this one's a lot fancier here. And this one, yeah, so this one's doing like suggesting hotels, right? So I could go ahead and bring in this tool, mcp.tool. I think this would work. Go over here. Okay, we'll bring this in. And I need to bring in the data models that I'm using as well. So hotel. Okay. Bring this in. And then it's going to be at app.tool. And then we're going to import data classes from data classes, import data class. Okay. And then we also need to import annotated. And what else are we missing? Field. Field comes in from Pydantic. Okay. And validate ISO date. All right. That's another helper function that I wrote in order to check date time strings. And we need date time. I'll just keep adding things. Okay. And date time dot string time. We need to do from date time, import date time. There we go. All right. I don't see any more squiggles in here. This one. And if I named Fake. Oh yeah, Faker. I was using Faker for this one. Faker is a great library for generating fake data. So let me go ahead and bring in, I don't think I have Faker in here yet. Do I have Faker? Probably not. Faker. Okay, so we'll add Faker to this. Faker, and then go over here and update our environment to bring in Faker. And that way we can generate fake addresses. Yeah, so I see a question. Do I have experience creating AI agents? Well, that's what I'm doing, is building experience here. And I've only made a couple things that you might call agents, like the, I've got the personal LinkedIn agent that I've streamed before. And that's the thing. I'm trying to find use cases for agents that is something that personally would benefit me. I did the GitHub repo maintainer agent last week, but I actually don't even use that one. Is most of the LLM work is done by the coding copilot agent. So I'm still trying to get more experience. And then I see Raj says, are you using LangGraph for building agents? Not yet, but I do have an example. So if we have time, I can try using LangGraph, because I have example here of a LangGraph agent. So this is from so I have this one repo that has a bunch of examples. So let me share the link to the repo I'm using. It has a bunch of examples of different AI agent frameworks and, basic examples of it. So here, this does have a LangGraph one. But I need to, I want to try using LangGraph with MCP as well. I would guess that either LangChain or LangGraph must have some sort of MCP integration. So once I get this working, then we could move on to LangGraph. Good questions. All right. So let's see, going back to our server, let's import from Faker. Fake Faker, is that how we do it? Fake Faker, we make a fake Faker. Fake Faker. Yep. Okay. All right. Let's see if we got any more problems here. We'll just format that. All right. Now everything's looking good. So we can go ahead and let's go restart this MCP server. Make sure there's no issues with running the server. All right. Now it's running. So now I've got a much more interesting tool, which can suggest hotels as long as there's location and a check-in and a check-out. So let's see we do this. So you are a travel planning agent. You can help users find tools. Yeah, I'm gonna get rid of the other boring tool. Where's it? Did we already get rid of it? Yeah. Okay. So let's get rid of that boring add addition tool. No one wants that. So your travel planning, you can help users find hotels. Okay. And so I'm going to say, find me a hotel for 2 nights. That sounds good. Let's see what happens if we run this. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so it found a hotel in San Francisco. It said Boutique Inn. And I think if we look at this, the boutique comes from, so this was generated from the MCP server, because the MCP server just randomly makes names based off of these word list here, right? So it came up with this name, Boutique Inn, and the address was probably from Faker. How did it come up with the location? Let's see. Location, Waterfront, San Francisco. So how to random choice neighborhoods. Oh yeah, the neighborhoods. Yeah, so Waterfront came from here. Okay, so it definitely called the tool. So that's great. Okay. So it's definitely calling the tool and incorporating that. So that is with that's with Pydantic AI. We could try another agent. I see. Oh, good. More questions. Okay. What do I feel? Drag and drop AI agent tools are overhyped like N8N. The thing is, I will always prefer using a code first framework. I have such a hard time using drag and drop tools because I know exactly what I want. I can picture like the code in my head. I can picture the flow in my head. And when I try to use any sort of drag and drop tool, like I'm not going to say anything about any specific tools, but if I try to use any sort of drag and drop tool, I'm usually unhappy and I want to be in a full code land. So I always use a code framework, and sometimes I'm not even using a framework, right? Like you don't necessarily have to use a framework to build an agent. Like you could use raw, you could use the more basic SDKs, like just the OpenAI SDK, or like anything that allows you to do a chat completion with tool calling, you can use it. But the frameworks are nice. Like what I really like them, and this is why I wanted to do the MCP, is like listen, like I didn't have to do any work here besides just say, hey, here's the MCP URL, point at it, and bring in those tools, right? So that's what's really nice about using these frameworks, where we can be like, okay, great, you already support MCP. I don't have to do any extra work. I'm just going to point you at the MCP server. So I definitely agree that it really helps to be able to fully customize, especially because we're so early days. We don't know exactly what we want. Like we really want, like when we run into a bug, we want to be able to customize it. So if you are a developer, like it's great. If you're not a developer, then these drag and drop tools are great because they give you the option to start doing this stuff. But if you are a developer, then it gives you the most amount of power if you actually are writing the code yourself. I see a request to apply dark theme. I'm sorry, I can't look at dark theme. My eyes don't work well with dark theme. So I always have to use light theme. I do work at Microsoft. Yes, I'm on the developer relations Python advocacy. So I do lots of stuff showing people how to use Microsoft with different Python stuff. You can look at my repo and you'll see lots of examples on my repo of Microsoft plus Python stuff. All right, so now that Pydantic AI is working, we could try LangGraph or LangChain, since there was a question about that. Let me first check and see if my LangGraph basic version is working, because I haven't run this example in a while. So let's just see if I can get the LangGraph one working. Or if there's a different framework you want to try. Okay, so human message, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that worked. Okay, so it looks like my basic LangGraph integration is working here. This is without MCP. So now let's do a little research to see if you're using LangGraph, how you can point it at an MCP server. So I'm going to just search for MCP and LangGraph and see what happens. So here, this one, oh, I kind of like that second result here. So this is from LangChain AI. So this is official. So this is makes MCP tools compatible with LangChain and LangGraph. So this converts MCP tools into LangChain tools can be used with LangGraph agents. So what would you do? Okay, here's our classic server with add and multiply. Maybe I should stick with that because that's what everybody has. But and then the client. So the client, this one is doing this create React agent and then passing it the tools. Okay, well we could start with that one. Let me also see if they have an example of doing. Okay, so that's kind of fun. Okay, let's just go and try this example. I'll just make a new file for that. Let's see. let's copy the current LangGraph one into a new one, LangGraph, and we'll say /MCP hp.py. I see Tech asked, what are the advantages of LangGraph? I think so. LangGraph has this approach where you think of everything as a graph, and so it's generally when you have a graph-based approach, it's should ideally be one of the most flexible approaches because you can just connect edges and nodes however you imagine your program going. Because really, all computer programs are graphs, right? You can graph each program as a graph and say, oh, this function calls this, and right? So LangGraph is saying like, okay, your AI programs are also graph, but they have you like specifically structure your code in terms of that graph. And then the nice thing is that with agents, you could actually like have a checkpoint and say like, okay, the agent is like stopped at this point in the graph, and you could have it like rewind like back in the graph. So you could have it like kind of redo work, or you could like save its state and say, hey, the agent is paused here. Let's get a human in the loop to confirm something. Okay, that looks good. And then let's continue the agent on its graph. So the advantage of the graph framework be that you can actually like save the state of the graph. You could restore the state of the graph. You could go forward in the graph. You could go backwards in the graph. That I think is the big advantage. I haven't used it much myself. Pydantic also has a graph thing. So Semantic Kernel has a graph type approach called the process framework. So you're generally going to see these kind of graph approaches across different packages. Oh, and then Raj gives some perspective on LangGraph, multi-agent frameworks for graph architecture, each agent noding, define relations. Right. So I think, yeah, that makes sense that it works particularly well for multiple agents as well to define their relationship. Because there's once you start putting agents together, there's so many different ways they can work together. And you basically end up visualizing that as a graph. So with LangGraph, you're actually encoding that as a graph too. All right, so let's see. We've got a new LangGraph file. So I'm going to delete, all this stuff I had here with some tools, and just keep. There's lots of graph stuff here. Okay, we're going to take a pretty bit different approach according to this code here. So it's going to bring in. Oh, and I'm going to have to install a new package. So actually, let me go ahead and add LangChain MCP adapters to my .en. Nope, not to that, to my requirements.txt. Okay, let's add the LangChain MCP adapters, make sure we can install those. Okay, those are installing now. Okay, so that installed successfully. That's good. So now we should be able to use those. So let's go here and bring in the imports from the MCP adapters. And we're bringing in this pre-built agent. I haven't used the pre-built agents, but it's React, which is not to be confused with React JavaScript. React means, is that what it is? Reasoning accent? Let me look up and remember what React AI agent, what that stands for. It's a particular flow, reasoning and acting framework. So it means it's going to have like a chain of thought. Okay, so that's using the React agent. And let's go back here and see how we set up the client. All right, so one of these is a standard input-output server. We're not going to use that one. We're going to use the hotel one. And that's using the same 8,000 URL, and it's using Streamable HTTP, which is what it's using. So that looks like it's good configuration. And then we're going to take in this code here. So it's going to get the tools. Oh, it's doing an await. So let's put all this inside a function. Set up agent. We'll do something like that. Okay, and that's going to set up the client, get the tools, create the agent, let's get a hotel. Let's get the same, we'll do the same question that we did in the other one so that we have a comparison, apples to apples. I'm going to change this string here. Okay, find me a hotel. Okay, and then finally, I actually don't know what the output is. Is the output, we'll just print out the response and see. Hotel response. I'm going to change this to response. Okay, what does it respond with? A dictionary? Okay. All right, so that looks good. Then we're going to run it using async IO because this is an async function. And oh, for the agent, so I need to make sure my agent is configured correctly. Let me look back at my other LangGraph agent to see how I set it up to work with Azure, because I'm using this with Azure. Azure. Okay, model, bind tools, model. So I need to pass in the model. Okay, so I think I can just pass in the model variable here. Okay, all right, let's see. Let's see if this is gonna work. Oh, have I compiled the graph? This one didn't have compiling as a step in the, let me share the code I'm following here. So I think that because this is a pre-built agent, that maybe maybe it's doing the graph compilation behind the scenes. We did get a response. So let me see, the response is in content. All right, so let me change this. Also, I'll change the logging back to, morning so we don't see as much stuff. And I'll print it back out. Oh, maybe it's not dot content. It's maybe message. Let's see. Or maybe I can see here how to, okay, AppStream messages. Okay, so it gives back a dictionary. All right, messages, maybe messages -1 dot content might be the, oh, I think that's what it is. Okay, so it's probably like this, messages -1 dot content. No? Oh, I know what this, okay. It's a dictionary. Okay. This. And then I think that this is correct. Okay, let me try this again. Yeah, so I think these, so create React agent. Let's see if it has create a graph that works with the chat model that utilizes tool calling. All right, so it says here are some hotels. It found budget in. Remember, this is all made up, so it's coming up with different ones each time. The address, the location, the rating. It says none of the other hotels have both free Wi-Fi and a pool. Okay, great. Okay, so that worked. That's cool. So yeah, I think that with this one, we're not building the graph from scratch. We're using the pre-built. I don't know if they had examples here of if you're making the graph from scratch. I think all of these are using, oh, here we go. So, okay, let's do this example here because this one actually is making the graph. So that's kind of interesting to see what it's like to make the graph. So let me make a new example. Say LangGraph and MCP HTTP graph PY. Getting a bit wordy. Okay, so let's go and try this one. So this one is setting up a bunch of stuff. Okay, so let's see. All right, let me bring in the imports up here. Woo. And this time we're not using the built-in React agent. We're using this init chat model. Okay, that's interesting. I don't know if I need that. I think I could just pass in the model, call model. I think I just do this model. Oh, wait. Okay, this is where I'll start to get confused. Okay, init chat model. What does this take? Init chat model. LangChain chat models. I don't even have access to this one. Oh, so this must be from a dependency that I don't have. I do have a model variable already though, so I wonder if I could just use the model variable. Let's go back down to just the weather server. And okay, so let's see how this works. So we get the tools from the MCP server. We have a function here called call model, which says model.bindTools. Okay, so it says, hey, model, you have access to these tools. Now run the tools on these messages, and then it returns back the response. Yeah, so I think that I can use, so I'm using, for my configuration, I'm using this LangChain OpenAI. I don't know if this has been like deprecated or something, but it seems to work. So I create the model this way. And then here I've got that model variable. And so I think that this will work, model.bindTools, because that's what I do in this one is I do model.bindTools. So it should, our model variable looks like it should work. I guess there's just a lot of different ways of making model variables with LangChain and LangGraph. But I think this one will work. Then we have the state graph. Okay, so the state graph is, you know, what I'm saying, you could like save state and all that stuff. So that they're going to read and write to a shared state. So we pass in the messages state. Oh no, that's just a class. Okay, we're passing in the class. So I guess that's the kind of state we're saving. As I'm very new to LangGraph, so I'm trying to think through this as I go through. So we add the node where we call the model. We add the node of a tool node, which has the tools. We add the start edge, which is where it's all going to start. And that has a end key, which is call model. Okay. We add the conditional edges, call model. We add another edge. It all gets a little confusing to me. That's why they do have a whole like LangGraph Academy, which you can do to like really wrap your head around it. But let's just see if it works. So we're gonna do a hotel response, and we're gonna do, so this time we're gonna do graph.invoke. Okay, and then that looks similar. And then I'll just print out the response. Okay, and you know what's cool? I think doesn't LangGraph have the way that you can draw out the graph? Did I have that here? Like where you can like draw out like an actual diagram of the graph? I always think that's fun. Maybe I can do that after. All right, let's see if it works. So I'll go ahead and run this one. LangGraph MCP HP graph. Okay, so Raj says use IPNB for applying the graph. I think, okay, we can check that out. I also thought, maybe I'm thinking of the other graph frameworks, but like, let me see, LangGraph, graph visualization. Let's see. LangGraph, StateGraph, app build fractal graph. What? Really? Oh, this is from LangChain? Oh, let's try. Okay, LangGraph visualization. There we go. There we go. See this how-to guide. Okay, visualize your graph. Oh, they don't just have a single line of code. Okay. There's another framework I use that just had a single line of code where you could output the graph, which I thought was really fun. Maybe that was AutoGen or something. So this will build. Oh, you can make a mermaid diagram. That's kind of fun. Oh, and then yeah, then you would display it with this app.getGraph. Oh wait, but this one just does app.getGraph. So what is getGraph? Oh, I think we should try that. That looks really fun. Okay. All right. Going back here. All right, we did get a response. This time it found some other results. Once again, this is random. So, you know, it's expected that we get different responses each time. But, you know, it definitely used the MCP server. So let me see if we can just do this app.getGraph draw mermaid. So would it be just graph? No. What is the app variable here? Oh, no, you still have to build this fractal graph. Jeez. They should do a one-liner. That's too much work. Add fractal nodes. Ay. No, I don't want to add all that to it, but I'll link to it. So if you want to, but I don't want to have the majority of my code be for plotting the graph because that seems like a lot. All right, so now, okay, we've got LangGraph working with MCP. We got Pydantic AI working with MCP. We can get another one working with MCP, or we can keep going to something else. So yeah, so the app variable stores the compiled graph. Yeah, so it seemed like, but according to this, we had to, let me go back to this. Where was it? How to graph API visualize this one. So according to this, we had to build this fractal graph. App equals build fractal graph. Oh, well, maybe not. Oh, maybe this is just .compile. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. So going back, so app stores the compiled graph, right? This is from compile. So the result of compile is what we need. Okay. All right. Maybe we can do that then, because we have, so really it should just be like graph.get graph. Yes. And then draw mermaid. Okay. Or it looks like there's also like a save. Let me save it. Draw mermaid ping. That's fun. Okay. Can we then like save it to a thing? Display dot draw ping. Oh, so fun. All right. So let's try running that again. Now, the interesting thing is I'm not looking at how many calls these are all making. So when you're ever using an agent framework, you want to, look at your token count and all that stuff and make sure you're not using excessive amounts of tokens. And when you are using MCP servers, you are going to use a lot more tokens. So it's definitely really useful to look and make sure that, you're not doing something like really expensive. All right. So then we have the mermaid graph. So I'll just go and put it in my usual mermaid visualizer, mermaid.live. Okay. And then wait. Where is it? Oh, here we go. Here it is. My very exciting graph. So start, calls the model, goes to the tools. The tools go back there, and then we go to end. Ta-da, a graph. But it's really fun. And as stuff gets more complicated, you can visualize it more. Now, I can't entirely explain like why exactly we needed to have both nodes and edges for these various things, because I guess, but I just need to reread the documentation and remind myself all the concepts behind LangGraph and the ideas behind it. Okay, so that visualization is working, and you could do, looks like there's different options. There's also draw mermaid ping, I think. Draw mermaid ping. And that one, can we maybe save that one out to, is that going to return out in bytes? Okay, so image bytes equals this. And then we'll just save image to a file, f.write image bytes. Okay. Let's do that to see if we can just directly save that graph locally. So we have it in our file system. And done. All right. Now we should have a new file somewhere in here. What we call it, graph.png. Let me check my Git status. That way I'll find it. There we go. There it is, graph.png. Let me open it. Graph.png. Oh, you can see another thing I had open. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that is quite a short amount of code. Oh, that's a cricket. I have all sorts of things open. All right, so there we go. We can save the file really easily. So now we've got LangGraph and we have Pydantic AI. We could do OpenAI agents SDK if anyone's using that one. because that is one I do have in here. And I even have one called, I have like some called /MCP, but then I changed it. So here's the OpenAI Agents SDK. It's another agent SDK, and it's a pretty lightweight one, but they do have support for MCP. So let me go ahead and copy this one over. OpenAI Agents MCP HTTP.py. Okay. All right, and now let's go to the OpenAI Agents SDK documentation. Oh yeah, good question. So what is MCP and how is it used in tech companies? That's a great question. So because there's many like possible ways of using this. So here's the general website about MCP. The idea of MCP is that it's a kind of interoperability protocol for agents to be able to use tools from other places. So I think of it as APIs, right? Like, it's a common way of exposing your API so that an agent understands how to call your API, right? That's how I think of it. It is more specific, like an API can be done in many different ways, right? But it is more specific, like your tools need to follow a certain like schema. They need to use like JSON schema and to define them. There's a certain tool discoverability endpoint. So if there's an MCP server, the agent knows where to go in order to get a list of the possible tools. It can also expose prompts and resources and stuff like that. So I think of it as APIs, but much more specifically defined so that agents, agent frameworks, any sort of agentic application can use tools. Now, the way that people are using them, like in VS Code, I can actually add MCP servers to my VS Code to GitHub Copilot, right? So I have my agent mode over here, and you can click on this and you can see any MCP servers that you have installed. I actually think I not have. Yeah, I do have MCP servers. So I've got various like local MCP servers installed. I also usually have the Playwright server installed. So it's a way that I can give GitHub Copilot agent mode more tools that it can use that are useful for the kind of things I want to do. You can also, so Claude is the one that came up with MCP. So if you're using the Claude desktop application, in the desktop application, you can point Claude at MCP servers. And so now you're giving Claude more tools. So it's a way of giving these agentic applications more tools. Now, your other question was, how is it being used in tech companies, right? And that's a great question because, in one hand, it's been great for consumers because consumers can easily extend their Claude and their GitHub Copilot and other things like that with much more tools. And so you can, be more powerful when you're working with these LLMs. But it also could be a way that you structure applications because it's basically like a very structured way of defining ways that agents can work with tools from other places. So you could basically think of it as like microservices, but specifically oriented around agent use, right? So the example I pulled my hotel from, this is a travel agents example where we have servers written in like a bunch of different languages. So we've got servers in in Python and Java and JavaScript and .NET, and they all have different tools. And so they all these servers can expose their MCP tools, and then you can have a single agent that can then use all of these servers, right? So this could be an architecture that a company might want to use, especially if it's like a large company, it's got different like kind of functionality across the company. They could say, okay, listen, we know that our agents, we have different agents that all need access to common functionality. Let's just make an MCP server for this. Like Azure has already started doing this with various MCP servers. We've got like an Azure MCP server. We've got a Microsoft Learn MCP server, like all these different bits of Microsoft functionality are exposed to MCP servers. So it makes it easy for any, internally built agents to also be working with tools from other places. So think of it as APIs, but just much more agent-oriented, agent-specific. Yeah. So like I said, yeah, making it much more easier for agent access and things. So that does bring up that there's a big security concern, right? Like you need to be really careful. And so we have been posting a lot about MCP security issues. So this isn't, whenever you make an API that gives access to things, you need to think about security, and they've been improving the protocol with more ideas about security as they go on. Great question. Okay. So hopefully that helps think about it. We're still early days, but there's just so much excitement about MCP that I think it's definitely worth checking out and keeping the eye on, and thinking about whether it can be useful, a way for you to either make yourself more powerful when you're using like Claude or GitHub Copilot or one of those MCP clients, or as a way of architecting your internal agentic workflows and tool servers. All right. So let's see. I was going to do OpenAI Agents SDK. So once again, they have a document about MCP, and they talk about the 3 servers. And let's see, this one, I want an example that uses streamable HTTP. All right. Well, all their examples really with, they should do an example with streamable HTTP. Okay. Well, we'll just figure it out. Okay. So let me go ahead and go back here. And now I've got an OpenAI agents example. This is without MCP, but I'm just going to run this and make sure that it is just working with the current configuration. So you never know when packages get upgraded. Okay, yeah, and it's not running with the current configuration. Great. There's some sort of issue with the output. Well, we'll just try their example and see if it'll work, because maybe there's something that's changed. So this one is showing how, okay, we want this one here, like agent. All right, so this is going to make an agent. Okay, use the tools that she, okay, MCP server 1. Okay, so we want an MCP server. And we're going to give it the model. Okay. All right, so that's the agent. Now we need to define that server somehow. So it looks like we're going to need to import this server here, MCP server streamable HTTP. Ooh, I wonder if they have an example here. Nope, that's fine. Okay. All right, so let's import this. We'll just figure out where to import it from. Where do we import it from? All right, we'll go over here and figure it out. Agents.mcp.server. Okay. So let's try this. Agents from agents.mcp.server, import MCP streamable server HTTP. Okay. All right, that looks correct. And then I'm going to make the server, MCP server, call it just MCP server, and then equals this. And then let's see what the parameters are. So we got params, name. Okay, so we're going to need the params. Params equal, and the params going to be a dictionary. Looks like they're going to be a dictionary. Okay. All right. That looks good, maybe. Okay. Let's go ahead and look at, I'm going to open up the code and look at those params. So it takes a URL, takes headers, timeout. All right, so we probably don't need to do any of those. So we'll just give it the URL. That should be enough for that. And so we got params, we got name. So we could give it a name. Name equals weather. Okay. That would help if we had multiple MCP servers, right? And let's see, a tool filter, a timeout. Okay, I don't think we need any of that. All right, I feel like that looks good. Then we have the agent. And then what's the next step? So then we're going to, oh, we could just list the tools. That's kind of fun. That way we can check and see if it's working. So we'll do tools. That's from server, MCP server dot list tools. And here, list tools. Do we need the run context? Oh, that it wants a run context. Okay. All right, let's just use the server. So we use it, and then how do we actually use it? So we need this. I think I found, okay, end-to-end examples. Yeah, here's the thing. This is what I found before was their examples. So let's just look at the full example. So there's main.py. So we create an agent. It gets the MCP server. Oh, it likes doing a model setting and saying tool choice required. Okay, we could do that. Here we go. Bring in model settings, agents.model settings over here. All right. And then here we do runner.run. Result equals runner.run. Get the runner. Got to import that up here. Okay. All right, result. And then the message. Let's get the message. Message equals. There we go. That's the message from before. Result.output. Final output. We need final output. Okay. And then this looks good. We give it a name. We give it the params. And there we go. All right. Let's try that out. Let's see if it's going to work. Server not initialized. Oh, okay. Server not initialized. So did we do some sort of server initiation before? Streamable HTTP. Oh, run server. Run. What does run come from? What is run? Run. Run. Okay. Run. Oh, well, run. That's just running our thing. Okay. So we get the server. This is server not initialized yet. This one runs it in a process. We're already running it in a process. Let's just make sure our process is still running. Yeah, it's still running over there. So it says the server is not initialized. Make sure you call connect first. I don't think this one is calling connect though. So I don't think it needs that. So next thing I do is I go and see if anybody else has had this issue. Closed one. Here we go. How you pass this using the context. Oh, if you use the context manager, it automatically calls connect. Oh, okay. Okay. So, all right. So it's saying that it's the way that we run it. So if we did async with that as server, I see. Okay. Okay. So we either have to use the with syntax. That makes it into what's called a context manager in Python, or we need to manually call server.connect and server.cleanup. Okay, that's fair. That's interesting. We didn't have to do that in the other ones, but OpenAI decided to do that. So we'll say MCP server.connect, and then we'll say MCP server.cleanup. Let's see, server.connect, server.cleanup. Oh, and we need to await. Both of these are asynchronous functions. Okay. All right, let's try that out. Okay, well, that's good. The only thing is that, yeah, this is the same thing we got for it. Let me make sure, let me check what version of OpenAI agents that we have right now. See if I don't have some like funky version. You know what it might have been? I think I was literally like debugging the OpenAI SDK and I might have made changes to it. So let me go ahead. I'm just going to uninstall OpenAI. Agents. I think it's just called, or is it just called Agents? I think it's just, yeah. Oh, I'm going to uninstall OpenAI Agents because I might have actually made changes to that SDK behind the scenes when I was debugging something earlier. So now I'm going to go ahead and grab what should be the very latest version of it. So if there was something weird in my version, hopefully that'll fix it right up. Let me do a pip freeze and check to see what we got here. OpenAI agents 0.2.3. That matches latest version 0.2.3. Okay, that looks good. Gonna hope it works this time. Okay, it's running. Great. All right, it worked. So this time we got 3 options. Good old budget in. We got a luxury resort. Very nice. Okay, so yeah, so that is working. So the big difference here was that we needed to manually do connect and cleanup, or we could have used a context manager instead. Okay, so now we've got 3 frameworks working with MCP, specifically HTTP servers. I haven't been running it with the standard input output server. That would be another option. I don't know what's going to be more common for people when you're making agents for production. Whether people want to be running it with the locally running processes or with HTTP servers. It's going to be pretty similar either way. I also have AutoGen is another framework. Semantic kernel is another framework. So it'd be good to add it to those. Oh man, my camera always goes funky. Okay. So there we are. What I'm going to do, let me go ahead and add these so that you all can check out these examples. And I'll add them to the repo so that you can try them out yourself. So let's see, we got this one. I think this one we didn't change here. I'm going to revert that one. This one, I'll add this, add the requirements. I won't add the graph, but you can generate that. Then I'm going to revert this one. We did this one, and I'm going to revert this one. Okay. All right. So now I've got everything that we did today. And I should, I think my branch name is great, is Pamela's Changes for some reason. Those are the branch names that I make when I don't know why I'm doing something. Adding agents examples from live stream. So there we go. If there's any other ideas that people have about things you want to see in the future, things I should try out, I just like to try out new stuff and usually make open source code while I'm doing it. So I'm always happy to try stuff out. All right, so here we've got all the updates. There's a couple other changes that came in, so I'm gonna make sure that those are good, but I'll make the pull request. So agents plus MCP examples from live stream. And I'll link to this PR so that you all can have it in the chat. Here we go. All right, so I'll merge that soon. And now I will say goodbye, and thank you for joining in and asking questions and putting comments. It's always fun to actually have people on the stream and contributing. Bye, everyone.